Welcome to One on One with Mitch Lafon, and joining me on this episode, it is Firewind guitarist Gus G. We talk about their new album, Immortals. Also, what is in store for the band in 2017 touring-wise, and will he or won't he be on Ozzy Osbourne's forthcoming solo album? Before checking all of that out, please check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON. Should you care to support the podcast, please head over to paypal.me/Mitch Lafon to send in a contribution. And now, here is the one, the only, guitarist Gus G. We are speaking with guitarist Gus G of the band Firewind. The new album is Immortals, coming out in January. Pleasure to have you, Gus.
Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's our second interview. The last one was for the solo album. So let's just get right into Immortals here. This is a concept record, your first record. Talk to me a little bit about putting together a concept record, and then I'm going to ask you, what were some of your favorite concept records growing up?
Well, doing a concept record with the guys is something we talked about for years. It's not something new, but you need to have the right kind of material for that. You need to be in the right mindset, and then, of course, decide what that thing's going to be about. Well, with us, it was like, since most of us are Greek, we thought, well, maybe it would be kind of cool to talk about our heritage or some part of Greek history. In 2013, we took a break from touring and recording, and I went on to do solo stuff. But anyways, when I started gathering all this material over the years, I realized that the character was very epic and more like very focused, like into power metal and an epic style. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea to do that concept record we talked about now. And I needed a co-writer for this, so I reached out to Dennis Ward. And anyways, to make a long story short, we decided to do a record about the battles of Thermopylae and Salamis during the second Persian invasion in 480 BC.
By the way, how was it working with Dennis? Of course, Dennis, known for being with Pink Cream 69. How was that, and what did he bring to the project?
Well, it's 50-50 basically. Me and Dennis, we did this together. Our collaboration goes back to 2009 when we almost started a project which had similar character. We briefly had called it Phalanx, and the whole idea was to talk about Alexander the Great and famous Greek battles from those times, or legendary Greek warlords. And anyways, but in 2009, I got an offer to join Ozzy Osbourne, of course, and I went on to do that. So this project was shelved, and I revisited those ideas last year, and that's why I reached out to him. I was like, well, maybe we should finish this up. And I'm used to working with a co-writer on all of my albums, and usually I will work with the singers, but now that we had a new singer, I thought maybe it's better to use somebody outside who could help with the production. So Dennis is also a great singer. I don't know if people would know about that. He's a bass player, but he's a great songwriter and a singer. And so we started trading off ideas. I would send him demos. He would do like the vocal lines and stuff like that. And I told him about our idea that we had to do a concept album, and he loved it. And he did his homework. He studied a lot. He presented me with some ideas, and we went on from there. And aside of that, he engineered like the drums and vocals on the album and mixed it as well.
Talk to me a little bit about the new singer. You've got Henning. He, of course, toured with you in 2007. More recently, you toured with Mats Levin, and he was also on your solo album. Why choose Henning, or how did you get to the choice of Henning, and why was Matt not considered?
Oh, well, Mats is, of course, he was considered. Mats was always a guy who I wanted to work with, but after Firewind went on a hiatus, I started doing all these songs with Mats for my solo record. So he became the main singer on my solo record, on the first one at least. And then I had lost touch. We were out of touch with Henning for a few years. And then there was one show that Mats couldn't do. It was a festival 2 years ago. And I reached out to Henning to bring him in to help me out with that. And we started hanging out again, and we remembered the good times that we had in 2007. So I asked him to help me out on the next couple of solo tours that I had. And then, there was like one of those things where we started discussing Firewind again, and when I would bring the band back, and that he really wanted to be the singer. And honestly, like, Henning is the perfect guy for this band because he's one of the really good, really great power metal singers of Europe. He's been doing it for a long time. He was looking to join a band. We were looking for a singer, and we knew him already. He's a good friend. We've toured with him already, so we knew he was not going to go weird on us. So there you go. That's the story right there with him.
Is it interesting to have a new singer? Because it really is the first time since Forged by Fire that you have a new guy on album. Does it change how you approach the songs in any way?
Well, that was one of the concerns. I mean, first of all, let me say that Henning can sing all of our back catalog with no problem. So, but when it came to making new music, this was one of the things. Like the demos that me and Dennis would make, we would always, of course, send it to Henning and see, is this something that you would feel comfortable singing and all those things. And of course, I had Henning fly out to Dennis's studio and work with him closely on this and make sure that everything works out. And luckily it did.
It did. When Apollo Papathanasio, that's a tough one for me to say, when he left, how was that for you? Because he had been so much part of the band, and of course the voice is always very much associated with any band. How was that for you, and do you think he could come back at some point, or is it really you've now moved on?
Yeah, no, we've both moved on, and for me, it's like when somebody leaves the band, it's like it's done. I've never really went back and played with somebody that either got fired or quit. In Apollo's case, he quit. He chose to quit. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he was a voice of the band, and he was a very important part of the band. And we were all disappointed in the group. And we briefly tried it with another guy for our 2013 commitments, and it didn't work out. And then that's basically when we decided to just take a break. Especially me, I started getting very tired of it. So I just wanted to do other things.
When you say you got tired of it, does that suggest at any point that you wanted to let go of Firewind and just move on into playing with Ozzy and doing solo stuff? Or was there always this, I'm going to come back to the band at some point?
No, of course I had. It did cross my mind that I should have quit. I should have not quit, but just, split up the band. And during the last few years, I just felt like there was a lot of pressure, even from fans. But it's like I think it just happens when you've started building a catalog and you've been around for a while. People start having everybody has their opinions, of course, and they have their favorite eras and all that stuff. And it just started piling up too much with me, and I was like, well, I need a fresh start. But as I went along with my solo stuff, which I really enjoyed doing, I started, I'm a pretty stubborn guy. I'm not a quitter. So I was like, I was thinking, well, I've worked pretty hard to establish Firewind, even to this level, for 15 years. I don't see a reason why I would quit because somebody decided to quit, and the guys had felt the same way, the rest of the guys in the band. So we decided we're going to come back.
And here you are. Brand New Revolution, considered by many to be one of the better albums or the best albums of 2015. Where does this put you now in terms of a new solo record? Are you taking a couple of years off, or are you already working on the follow-up?
Well, I've actually just finished. I wrapped up the tour for that album, and I still have to do some shows in Japan in March. It's kind of a strange timing because the Firewind album's coming out, but there I'm going to Japan with my solo band. But Japan is always such a great adventure that you just cannot turn that one down. But after that, yeah, I'm looking into writing some new material for the next solo record. Yeah.
You were, of course, with Ozzy. He went off and did the Black Sabbath farewell tour. Where are you in terms of being in Ozzy's band and doing a next new sort of solo Ozzy album?
Oh, that would be a question probably for him, not for me. I have no inside info except the news that we all keep seeing popping up on various websites. I know he's been hinting at some work on a new solo record, but when will that be? I sure don't know.
Yeah, and it's also been rumored that it was working with Steve Stevens of Billy Idol's band. Does that at all suggest that you're no longer part of the band, or are you still part of that inner circle?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he said that Steve Stevens is in the band. He said he was writing with him.
Right. Correct.
So yeah. I know some websites went on to say, "Well, sucks for Gus because he's not there anymore," but I don't think Ozzy ever said that. Or at least I didn't think that anyway.
No. He never said that. He did say, or it was reported that he was writing with him, and that's why I'm asking you.
And that's something that I've known about it since last year. I mean, I've heard a couple of those demos that he did with his buddy Billy Morrison and Steve Stevens, and I mean, those guys are great songwriters. I love what they did on the last Billy Idol record. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the plans are. Like I said, this is not the kind of band where I make decisions. I'm hired to play guitar, so whatever Ozzy and Sharon decide, or their, label executives or producer, whoever's going to be writing that, it's like, first of all, I think it would be too early to say, and then secondly, I would be the wrong guy to ask.
In terms of your career, if you're not working with Ozzy, is Firewind sort of it? And the solo stuff, or do you see yourself maybe being invited to play another band? Or maybe let me rephrase that. Would you accept to go play for another band?
For me, it's like I always saw myself. I never saw myself as being a hired gun. Now, it just so happened that I was asked by Ozzy to join his band, and you don't say no to that. So that was an amazing thing. And even for me, it was weird because I'm not one of those session guys, that just I was never used to be a sideman, but I learned a lot from doing that. But other than that, I've always been the kind of guy that had his own thing going on, and I'm really enjoying doing my thing. So I was never the guy who seeked to get who sought, what was the word, who try to find where do I go? What's the next gig for me? I don't look for that stuff. I have my own thing, which I've been working on for the last 10 years plus. So that's what I see myself doing. If I'm no longer with Ozzy, or when that happens, I'm just going to keep doing my thing.
In terms of the experience, though, is it frustrating to not be able to be the head guy when you're with an Ozzy, or is it easy just sort of sit back and sort of let it happen?
Oh, no, that's very easy. I mean, I wouldn't want to be involved in that stuff. That's like his thing. That's his band. That's his call. What he does with that business. For me, it's just what is expected for me is to show up on time and play the best I can, and that's what I've made sure to do all these years.
And of course, it hasn't hurt Firewind's brand that you were associated with Ozzy at all.
No, of course, man. It's like you. How can you look at something like this from a negative point of view? It's only done me good. It's like it's allowed me to do so many great things. First of all, making a much bigger name for myself, helping the band out, so many things. Putting me in a much better financial position too. It's been great. I can't complain.
You can't complain. Now, you did mention Phalanx with Dennis Ward, and I think 3 or 4 of these songs end up on Immortal. Is that something that you'd like to get back to and do a project with Dennis?
To be honest with you, brothers, there's not much time of the day left for another project or something else. It's like Firewind and the solo stuff, between all that stuff, it's just takes up all the time of the day. And I'm glad it does at this point. So I don't see myself doing another project,
You've got Firewind on tour in February. You've got yourself on tour in March. And then, of course, there's the European festivals. Is the Firewind tour going to extend all the way through 2017?
We would hope so. I think a lot of it will depend on how it does, how the record is accepted, and where we get the next offers to go and play.
And of course, I guess some of it has to depend on Ozzy too. If he calls you up in July and says,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, if that comes in, then of course we do that, yeah.
And hopefully you can get Firewind to open for Ozzy. I want to look back in a couple of things you've said over the years. You have mentioned that Uli Jon Roth of the Scorpions was one of your sort of musical influences. I love Uli. I love 70s Scorpions. What was it about Uli that attracted you and made him sort of an influence for you?
It was kind of funny because I was first turned on to Yngwie Malmsteen, and I when I was reading some old interviews of Yngwie, he talked about obviously Richard Blackmore and Hendrix, and then on a couple of interviews he mentioned this guy Uli John Roth. I was like, who's that? So I went back, and I mean, I knew of course about Scorpions and stuff, but I hadn't heard. I heard of mainly their 80s and 90s stuff, but not like the 70s era. And yeah, I went back and listened to those records, Tokyo Tapes, Virgin Killer, Taken by Force, all that stuff, and it was like a revelation to me. And I was like, well, now I see where Yngwie got it from. So I was always, I always loved that style of playing. I don't know if you want to say more European type of approach, or that stuff that had a lot of harmonic minor, melodic minor scales, diminished runs, and certain choice of scales and notes, and certain attitude when those guys played, and that really spoke to me since I was a kid, and that's why I love all those players like Uli Roth, Michael Schenker, and Yngwie, and those guys.
And Al Di Meola as well.
Al Di Meola, yeah, I got a lot of my picking techniques from Al Di Meola.
Yeah, very very tasteful players. They don't waste notes, which I think is important. Quickly on the Immortals tour, seeing that it's a concept record, and usually concept records you got to listen to from start to finish. Is the tour going to be sort of an all Immortals where you'd play it start to finish and then throw in some greatest hits kind of thing? Or have we not decided about that yet?
I think a lot of it depends on curfew, but we're going to try and... I don't think we're going to have time to play the whole album start to finish, plus like a best-of whatever 7 albums that we've done. I think we're going to try and cover as much as we can from the new album, but I still think our fans would expect us to play some of the older songs, so we're going to try and please as many of them as we can.
Yeah, which makes sense. Now, at the beginning, I had asked you what some of your favorite concept albums were, and I don't think we covered that.
Yeah, I forgot to answer that. Obviously, growing up, my father turned me onto Pink Floyd's "So of the Wall." I love that record, and Operation Mindcrime, of course. What else?
Yeah, I mean, Operation Mindcrime, sort of the big one in the metal genre.
Yeah.
In terms of putting together a concept album, was it different in terms of writing, having every song sort of have a thematic connection, or was it a very easy process to do?
To me, I always focus on writing the music. So, I mean, of course, when we decided, I had a few of the songs already when we decided that that's the way we're going to go. But once we started writing the first few songs, I started getting deeper into the whole thing, so I just went for more epic arrangements and those kind of things. So I had that in mind, of course, but when it comes to the lyric writing, that was not my job. That was stuff that Dennis came up with.
Oh, so Dennis did all the lyric writing?
He did, yes. I would probably pitch ideas to him, maybe a song title, or would say, hey, maybe we should talk about the Battle of Salamis here, and then he would, he's the kind of guy who put the lyrics together. I mean, lyric writing was never my strong point.
And let me just ask you about that, the sort of the Greek history and the Greek mythology and all. What attracted you to that theme for a concept record? What was it about wanting to tell sort of the Greek heritage through this?
Well, we just thought, most of us in the band, at least now, that we're Greek, and it would be cool if we talked a little bit about our heritage and our country and our background. That was the main point, really. And of course, those topics are always, I mean, obviously the Battle of Thermopylae is one of the most heroic ones throughout history. So, and of course, the movie 300 is such a big hit, and so many people got to know of that because of that, the success of that movie. So we thought, why not tell the tale from a band that is from Greece? We thought that, and especially those kind of things, those kind of topics, they go so well together with heavy metal music. It's like a great soundtrack.
Well, yeah, well, it certainly is. And I'll finish with this. In terms of different singers, you also had Kelly Sundown Carpenter come in. Those sort of years, 2007, where you had these different singers, Matt, and is it nice to now have one voice? And do you think you're going to move forward with Henning for sort of the band's duration?
Well, that was the idea, and that was what we got tired of. You know, when Apollo kept dropping off tours and we had to find other guys. I mean, we were lucky that we had some of the best singers to help us out. But for us, of course, it was a comfort, but at the same time it was a frustration that, well, you know, we really need somebody who's going to stick with this. And we hope Henning is the guy.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I'll finish with this. You played the Brass Monkey in Ottawa not too long ago. One of the better shows that the venue has seen. Thank you. It was wonderful. It
was such a great time that night. What a crazy audience. It was great.
Crazy audience. And hopefully we'll see you in Ottawa and Montreal again real soon, either a solo or with Firewind.
I sure hope so. We always have great shows in Canada. And I remember when Firewind was in Ottawa in 2011. It was a small indoor festival, and that was a crazy night. It was off the hook, and then it was the same thing when I came with a solo band through town. So, yeah, let's hope it happens again now. Not too
distant future. Yeah, bring Firewind to the Brass Monkey. I'm sure folks would love it.
I would love to, too. Yeah, I hope it happens.
Thank you, Gus. Absolute pleasure.
Thanks a lot, and take care.
Yeah, cheers. Bye-bye now. And there you have it, folks, my interview with Firewind guitarist Gus G. The new album is Immortals. Do look for that. While you're looking for stuff, find me on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON. Same thing on Instagram, except it is Mitch_Lafon, and paypal.me/Mitch Lafon should you care to support the podcast, and I could use all the help that I can get. There you go. And au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, bye-bye. I think that's a Cheap Trick lyric, isn't it? Bye for now. Oh, my.